the last 6,000 years, people have been asking, who am I? Is the longest lasting research into that question. So that wisdom has passed on to us. This character, Manish, that I've built over the last 42 years, this character thinks he owns this organism. And that's the problem. Right? The 50 trillion cells in my body don't even know my name. The most beautiful description of detachment comes from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna clearly says that you cannot stop doing things.
Correct.
Your body is doing a million things both up just now, just to stay alive. But you can detach from the fruit of those, from the outcome.
Hello everyone, Namaste. Welcome to the new episode of Slice of Nirvana. Today I have with me Manish Pole, who's a fellow yogi, and we are going to be talking everything that you need to know about his journey and what you can do in your life. Manish, I will let you talk about your experience and your yogic journey.
Firstly, thank you very much, Deepti,
Thank
and
you.
everybody watching. I have been teaching for the last 20 years, and I actually graduated in psychology. And then I wanted to explore the mind at greater depth. So for me, that progression was meditation. I had the fortune to stay with my guru for 7 years in his house and learn. This was in India. And then from that time, from 2003, I've been teaching and sharing. I spent 3 years here in Dubai, teaching from 2007 to 10. And the rest of the time, I've taught all over the world. And I continue to conduct yoga, teacher training courses, meditation courses, and retreats globally, as well as festivals like the one we met at.
Sure. So you are a wisdom coach. Tell us, what is wisdom really?
Wisdom would mean to do the apt thing at the right time in life. Now, you could be a double PhD in a subject and be an idiot, and you can be illiterate and be very wise. To know what needs to be done at what time in a day over the course of a lifetime would be wisdom.
So we can say at that particular moment how you need to react, how you need to tackle the situation, that could be wisdom.
And that wisdom gets distilled over millennia. So there are many wisdom traditions across the world, Egypt, Greece, India. In the Indian context, that exploration into who am I never stopped.
Right.
So we have the pyramids, but we don't have the Egyptian wisdom.
Sure.
Whereas because of the Himalayas, it was not attacked. It continued as a stream of knowledge. So for the last 6,000 years, people have been asking, who am I? Is the longest lasting research into that question. So that wisdom has passed on to us. Wisdom would mean something of value today, but that has stood the test of time.
So you just picked up on something, who am I? That's such a big question, right?
Sure.
Everybody is these days thinking, who am I? Do you have an answer for that? Who are you?
I don't have an answer because that's a journey. Manish can never figure out who Manish is. When Manish is not there, wisdom is.
Okay,
Yeah?
okay.
So this character, Manish, that I've built over the last 42 years,
Sure.
this character thinks he owns this organism. And that's the problem. Right? The 50 trillion cells in my body don't even know my name. And they're thriving. The wisdom 42 years ago that moved me from one cell to this today is inherent. Now, this little bit of memory that I call Manish is trying to figure out who am I. Whereas this wisdom that is converting the food into us, that is keeping me alive, is inherent.
Sure.
As long as I get out of the way, wisdom is.
Beautiful, beautifully said. So tell me something that we are always, what is the inner connection? We talk about detachment, we talk about, giving up on things, but how do you connect with your inner self? How and what is the way to connect?
To just realize that for some reason you woke up, or I woke up today. 150,000 people die every day. For some reason we've woken up, and that's got nothing to do with anything but the fact that life is happening through us.
Sure.
If you value that enough, that you've got another day to live, you want to be present. If you want to be present, how do I stay present? I want to see a beautiful sunrise, but my body is giving me some backache. So I take care of my body. I want to see a sunrise, but I have jealousy or I have unfulfilled ambition. So I train my mind so that I can be. That being is what you train for. That
Absolutely.
being is the connection to the inner self. Nobody can teach you this. Meditation is too beautiful to outsource to anyone.
It's with experience, it's with time that you kind of attain that or you reach to that level.
If you're the kind of person who wants to question everything, then this journey is right for you.
Right. So to attain that inner self-satisfaction, gratitude is one of the practices that you would recommend?
It's a conundrum, right? If I fake being grateful, because the science tells me that by being grateful, I'm at a high vibration,
Sure.
am I really grateful? Right? So I leave it to you.
But that can become a habit. So maybe you're faking it in the start, but it could actually become a habit and you live in that space.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, a wisdom teacher is not to give answers,
Of course.
but is to direct the right questions.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's different for each person.
Absolutely. Now, yoga, we talk about body, mind, and soul. We talk about a wholesome experience, but there are so many hybrid forms of yoga that have been come up in the recent past. Like I've heard about something called as beer yoga, a dance yoga. What is your take on these?
I think it's fun, it's funky. The people who are doing it or the people who are creating it know it's not yoga. They're just playing with the word sells. Something that's been around for 6,000 years doesn't have to worry about some fad of the season.
Sure.
The real conundrum or the real issue would be if you think that this is serious, many yoga systems around the world consider themselves to be self-important.
Sure.
That's a problem. The moment you think you're a yogi, yoga stops. Like the way you think you're an artist and you can't do any art. The things like beer yoga and all is just a joke. Nobody really, there's goat yoga, there's dog yoga. It's stupid.
It's just to beautify it, right? Just
sells.
to a selling point, yeah.
If I call it stretching, you won't come. If I call it yoga but teach you stretching, you love it. If I call it affirmation, it's not so cool. But if I say mantra, it's a bit sexy. It's just commerce. But the people doing it don't really believe it's yoga. So they're just playing a little bit. Who are we to, in my opinion, yoga has stood the test of time. We don't need to try and save it.
Sure.
We'll be gone, it'll still be going on.
You interestingly mentioned about an artist block, and I would say that for yoga and the wellness industry, it is the mindfulness block. What do you think?
So that's why in tradition you have a guru. So when you're not progressing, the person will kick you in a beautiful way. If not, if you've trained yourself well enough, you will see it. If you're stagnant, suddenly you'll find that your relationship with your mom sours. Yeah? So it doesn't matter if you're in meditation, you see pink or purple or anything. It makes no difference. The only true test is your relationships with people.
Sure.
So if your relationships are going awry, you're not able to manage your life, then you know that something is blocked within. Life will teach you, life will tell you. And if you're so blind, it'll kick you. And then you will get back to practice.
You mentioned about having a guru. Of course, I feel the same, that it's very important to have the right guru. And I think you find that guru on your journey. But do you think people, like the general people who wants to get into this practice or who wants to start their journey with wellness, it's important for them to have a guru or they can just start?
There are three things in that relationship. Firstly, the person should have the caliber to impart spiritual wisdom. I've been a teacher for 20 years. I'm a teacher. A guru is a different caliber. The second is that they should have the interest and they should want to take responsibility for you. There are so many world-famous gurus, you won't even get a second of their time. They're beautiful on YouTube, but you cannot live your life on YouTube.
Sure.
The third is you should have 100% trust in that person. When trust is 99%, it doesn't work. So if all these three parameters are met, then it works. They have the caliber, they have the interest in your journey, and you have the trust. So your mom has interest in your journey, you have the trust. She may not have the caliber.
Sure.
But if you get all these three, then that makes sense to have the right guru at the right time in life.
Beautiful. That's a very well put thought actually. So you practice Tantra. You're a Tantra practitioner, and Tantra has been, it has gotten a name which is more about Tantra sex, and people think it's not a form of yoga,
Sure.
but it's one of the most important vehicles in our yoga journey. So would you like to, highlight on that? And
Tantra is very beautiful. Tanoti means expansion and Trayati means liberation. So those two. Many spiritual systems of the world limit your field of experience. I'm a Catholic by birth, for example. So like a priest cannot have a family life. It's only prayer.
sure.
Now, in Tantra, you're exploring life at its fullness. Can everything in life become prayer so that there is no need for prayer? Now, who am I? Now, you put these beautiful books here. I do this, you're fine. If I put my foot on your book, you may not like it. But what is the difference between my foot and my hand? It's just an idea that we have that the foot is
Sure.
unclean or whatever. If you can let go of all these concepts in life, that beautiful person is a tantric master. Yeah.
Okay.
The sex element is one small, maybe 5%. Now, who am I to say that what I do in the temple is prayer and what I do in the kitchen or what I do at work is mundane? Yeah. If everything becomes prayer, so will my sexual drive. If the drive is within me, then even that is prayer. If I can stay centered while making love, yeah, anybody, that's when you're most animalistic, you're at your passionate most. If you can stay centered at that time, nobody needs to teach you to be centered when you're praying. So that's the training. Yeah? That any time in life, you're centered. So that, today what we call tantric sex is predominantly Kama Sutra. But you'll find people who practice Tantra, some of them are very traditional, conservative people in India, an old grandmother. Yeah? It's just that any human being who wants to explore their divinity, not necessarily through an institution like a temple or any institution, they directly want to connect. I want to connect with this body. Most systems in the world say, forget the body, there's something called spirit, and negate the body. In Tantra, the exploration is, can I use everything? I don't know if there's something called spirit or no. I know I have a body. Can I start with that? It is so beautiful. Such a person has zero perverseness of life. Yeah? Anything is their prayer.
So the misconceptions around Tantra, can we tell everyone out here that, what is the way to practice it, and these misconceptions are something just a fad again?
Yeah, I mean, we've come to a point where there's zero connection between a couple. So therefore you need to sort of have a sensual experience. That is fine. It's beautiful. But at some point you'll go beyond that.
Sure.
So once you go beyond that, you'll find that the whole life is sensual. Yeah, just a smell, just a thing. I don't need to constantly be a monk and feel that there's some world that I want a place in. Can I make my whole day into an experience of meditation? So when I see a flower, when you see the smell of rain, anything. So that, of which sex is a very small part. At the end of the day, how much of your day or your life is explored through sex? It's one small part.
Sure.
There are so many other things. There's making a living, there's doing work. Can all of that become prayer? That is Tantra.
Just to follow up here, can tantric sex, or we call tantra, help in building up relationships? For example, you just mentioned that some couples have issues, they're not able to connect. Do you think this really helps, or this is just a
I think
talk?
Love and respect helps. If you have the love, then that love is expressed even through the physicality. Now, if you don't have the love and you don't have the respect, then any amount of technique is not going to get you that.
Sure.
So the first is a connection. Can you be with a person on a couch, sitting and having a tea together? Can you be with a person walking on a street together. That then just explodes into lovemaking.
Sure.
But without connection, a few little techniques here or there, it's not going to.
We often talk about detachment and disconnection, but when reality kicks in a real scenario, how difficult it is to maintain that. And what would be your take on that?
The most beautiful description of detachment comes from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna clearly says that you cannot stop doing things.
Correct.
Your body is doing a million things both up just now, just to stay alive. But you can detach from the fruit of those, from the outcome. Now, you can go on saying, I'm not my body, I'm not my body. If I give you a slap, you'll be angry with me.
Of course.
Yeah. Or you can keep saying, I'm not my mind. And if I say something bad about your reputation, you won't be happy. So obviously we're connected to body-mind. So that detachment means that you're not connected to the outcome of your actions. Now, I have heartbreak, for example, and I'm suffering through that process. Now, what would it mean to be detached or have financial stress? Can I continue to serve? Can I continue to live a life of gratitude such that my time changes? How do I go through life with grace would be detachment.
Sure.
And when I have very successful times in life, can I stay grounded? If I don't know who I am, I can never be detached. If I think I'm this body and this body is going, in the next 10 years I'll look even more haggard than I am today. If my whole reputation is based on that, or my whole identity is based on my mind, if I get Alzheimer's, I won't be as smart as I am today. And then I don't have work, and then that affects my identity. So to be detached would mean to know that in this functional moment, you're a podcaster and I'm a wisdom teacher. When we step out of here, you're no more and I'm no more, and we could be anything. Without a functional identity, we have no career. You cannot be of service to anybody. You cannot be a friend. In that moment, you're a friend of that person. It doesn't mean that your identity is a friend. Yeah? There are some people you're not friends with. In that way, the functional identity is needed, but to have a detachment from that is what we train.
I think a very good example of detachment that I read when I was studying Bhagavad Gita actually, a mother's love for a child. So when your child is sick, you will stay awake nights on nights without thinking about anything or any outcome. You just become one. You just forget about everything. So I think that's also kind of attachment, but with a detachment.
Yeah, I mean, will she do it for the neighbor's kid?
No, maybe not.
So, if she does it for the neighbor's kid, that love has made her a saint.
Right.
But till then, the mother's love is the most wholesome. But when it goes beyond the confines of just her child, then she's no more attached to the role of a mother. She's become the saint.
Although it's a podcast and it's again going to go on the digital platform, but one question is that has technology disturbed our equilibrium within? Do you think it has really affected our life?
And the easy answer is yes. Since the Industrial Revolution, the levels of stress, people are dying from stress, and there's no way for people to connect to each other. Each one has a screen and so on. So the easy answer is yes, but let's say that if it's not just yes, how can we use technology to sort of further? One of the things is things like this. Of course, like you rightly mentioned, the podcast will go out. And because of the digital platform, people have a chance to be inspired. And while I would like to think that we could be in a world of countryside and beauty and so on and so forth, the fact of the matter is that there are stock exchanges, there are buildings, there's technology, and so on. You cannot go back on that. So how do you then detach from a tool that you're using and not get used by the tool would be the challenge.
Yeah, actually, beautifully said. But when I travel, which I do often, I kind of completely disconnect from the internet most of my days. Like through the day, I'm enjoying the place. Of course, I'm recording because that's part of my work.
Yeah.
but I'm kind of not posting right then and there. I want to enjoy the place. I want to meet new people. I want to see what's happening around. And, I see some fellow travelers with me who are, recording and posting. And I feel like, guys, let's just enjoy this, and let's do that later. So I think it gives me a very different peace when I disconnect. And of course, for work, you would come back to it. But that period of disconnection is actually beautiful, as you're like, it's like a self-discovery phase.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think we all should find that time, that for a couple of hours a day, which is hard to do, but we have to disconnect from our any digital devices that we have. And why just a digital detox for a week somewhere in the Himalayas? But if we practice that in our daily lives, I think our stress levels will drop down, I don't know to how much, to a huge level, because you are consuming less of what you don't want to see.
Sure. So that's the social media side of it for sure. And many years ago, I'd read this thing in The Economist. It said that the true test of wealth is time. The millions, billions are passé. If you have time, you're rich. If you don't have time, you're not. So you could be a billionaire CEO with no time, and you could be one of the cleaners on the street who's got time. And that's what you're coming at, right? That if you take that time off from work, from the feed, if you've got time, you're a king. And if you don't need technology to give you your kicks in life, if you don't need anybody to entertain you all the time, then you're a king.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that some of us actually do that from now on. Okay, Manish, what is biohacking? I saw on your profile you're talking about biohacking. What is it, and how does it really work?
So biohacking is ways in which you optimize your physiology, your biology, and your psychology.
Okay.
Since time immemorial, people have always been trying to see how can they always be happy. So now we know that, okay, it's got dopamine, it's got oxytocin, serotonin. So what can I do? So movement gives me a boost of serotonin. Or like you mentioned, gratitude, or the right food gives me. So now, I was talking recently at the World Biohack Summit in Dubai, and my topic was yogis are the original biohackers.
Okay.
Now, for most of us, we fall happy every now and then, but it's left to chance. A yogi, and nowadays a biohacker, doesn't leave it to chance. If I eat this food, this spike of serotonin means I feel like this. If I do get sunrise in the morning, then I get a spike in my certain hormonal levels, my productivity goes up. So everything is optimized.
So can we say it's about connecting with the 5 elements of nature also in a way?
Not necessarily that,
Okay.
but everything including that.
Yeah.
To ensure that your biology is optimized, your psychology is optimized. If Deepti, you don't really have a goal, it doesn't matter. But if you have a goal and you want to get there, then how do you get there in the most efficient way?
Sure.
So what should you do for sleep? So then you look at the science of sleep. So now you know it has to be completely dark. So okay, I can use a dark thing so that melatonin is secreted. So that becomes a biohack. Or
interesting, yeah.
If I get cold water on my body, the telomere length continues to stay longer. So aging slows down. So all the science-backed hacks to ensure that my day-to-day life is lived a little better. And we say that the optimum for the body is, say, 100 years, 120 years. Can you get there? You start to plan ahead, like you plan retirement or you plan insurance or something. Now you're planning for life itself.
So would you say that biohack is universal, or it has to be designed individually depending on how that person is?
So both, because any human being has certain basic commonalities. So like sleep or food, the 4 pillars of well-being, sleep, food, movement or exercise, and mindfulness.
Sure.
So each person will have slightly different needs of sleep, or so on and so forth. So there will be differences, but there are certain commonalities that can be absorbed.
Great.
Now, we find that the number one marker of happiness is deep relationships.
Absolutely.
Right? So now, so that we knew it intuitively. Biohacking simply tells us that, see, this is the proof. This is what leads to a happy state. Now you'll say, okay, let me invest a bit more time in my friendships, in my relationships, and that leads to an outcome that is science proven. So like that.
So that's why I recently read that you should hug at least minimum 8 times a day. Now, how many of us usually have the opportunity to do that? Maybe, okay, some of us have kids or partners, but not everyone. I mean, most of us are singles still. So, I don't know. Yeah, of course, you can go see a friend and hug, but this 8 hugs a day, how do you get to that?
So I'm a bit skeptical about this kind of research. They would have measured it over 1,000 people.
Of course.
And it will never match 8 billion.
So now we have come to the section which is called the Speedy Nirvana. I'm going to ask you a set of questions and you can just help us out with some small sentences or words.
Sure.
Moksha or $1 million?
Moksha.
Define Nirvana in a sentence.
When I'm not there.
Best retreat in the world?
Himalayas.
Himalayas. I love it. 3 things you would carry to a monastery.
I wouldn't go to a monastery.
Okay.
I think nature's too beautiful to be stuck in any monastery.
A city which resonates with your spirit.
I love Dubai.
Dubai, yeah? Okay. I would have said Rishikesh. Your spirit animal.
I'd be happy if it's human, but I think a wolf, a lone wolf.
A lone wolf. Interesting. Sensuality or sexuality?
Sensuality.
3 tips to revive your chi.
Wake up early, eat less, and laugh a lot.
Most overrated fad in the wellness industry right now.
These watches, smart watches, they don't give any data that's relevant for well-being.
Sure.
It tells me how fast my heart beats or what.
It's just a motivation factor, I would say. Veganism in one word.
Unproven, ethical, but unproven nutritionally.
Socially involved or detachment, where do you slot in?
Both.
You keep a balance.
I spend a lot of time in the cave, but I can do a party very well.
A party at the foothills of Himalayas, what would be the menu look like?
I'll do Indian food, proper Indian vegetarian food. And for me, it would mean like a full moon night and you're dancing the whole night.
Beautiful.
So you'll have to have those kind of, like sugarcane juice and those kind of things that will keep you energetic the whole evening. So Indian food, rotis and vegetables and so on.
Nice. Full moon, do you believe in it?
Yeah, lunacy is a beautiful thing.
Do you think full moon, so we talk about releasing energy on full moon, doing new things or letting go of past, these things work?
Yeah, I love the full moons and it's something very stunning on that, right? So it just heightens your interest in thinking in that way and therefore it happens.
Okay. Which chakra has the most relevance to you? I mean, of course, we need to balance all 7 chakras, all play a very important role, but if you have to pick one.
Muladhara for its grounding, but the one that I really like is Vishuddhi, because I make a living talking, and this is expression.
Beautiful. Lastly, I wanted to touch about the 5 layers of our body. We talk about the food layer and then the prana layer, which is our energy level. How can one balance these 5 layers in a very simple practice of yoga? Do you think if they do that for a long time, they would be able to cover up on these 5 layers? Like they would be able to enhance these 5 layers?
Absolutely, absolutely. Asanas for Annamaya Kosha, the physical.
Kosha.
Pranayama for Pranamaya, meditation for Manomaya, the mind, and deeper meditation for Vijnanamaya, or psychic.
Which is intuition?
Intuition. And bliss happens as a response. So yoga is designed for this. In terms of value for time, if you have to exercise or meditate, nothing matches yoga because it's embodied wisdom. I can keep fooling myself that I'm a calm person, but unless it's embodied, it makes no sense. So that is why.
Thank you so much, Manish, for your
You're
time
welcome.
today and coming to my humble abode. This is my house, and we thought of creating this very grounded session. And thank you for sharing all the wisdom. I'm sure that people would find it really relevant, and maybe some of them would actually, think about it after the podcast. That where are we and who are we? So thank you so much.
I'd like to thank you, Deepti.
Thank
and I'd
you.
like to thank your entire team who's filmed this, who's going to cut this and present it, and all the listeners and viewers who've taken a bit of a slice of Nirvana.
Thank you. Namaste.